Hello, 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 hello. It's Sean Brady here with
Sean.
another fabulous episode of the Connectors Circle Conferences.
I'm looking forward to this great conference that George Slater is putting together.
February 2nd over at Medici in Overland, page 170. And Cynthia is not only a marketing genius, but she's on the panel.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'm honored to be on the panel representing Experts for Entrepreneurs, E4E, which was founded by Bill Purnett.
Actually, Bill, awesome.
Bill is an amazing guy. He's been my mentor, and he inspires so many of us. He actually founded E4E 8 years ago.
Oh my gosh, I don't
Isn't that amazing?
I thought it was like 4 years ago, but wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's really been around and developed a lot of momentum. And what I love about what Bill has done is he's so open to making changes. So the community, the format of the programs and the events has evolved over time because he's always looking at how to improve it and make changes. So that's cool.
You got to adapt.
Yes.
Always. And that's one thing I know you've shared with me is like, how are you going to adapt in your business? Like, yes, how am I going to adapt in my business? Ah! So we're talking CCC.
Yes.
And you're on the panel. So
yes.
I've been asking all the other panelists and not so much the presenters, but they have their own content. But from a panelist standpoint, what are 3 pet peeves a year? I mean, I've known you for at least 3 years, and I think I first met you at E4E.
Medici.
At
E4E?
Yeah, I was at E4E first, I think.
Awesome.
And then at Medici, or maybe vice versa. But either way, I know you've been doing some networking out of the world.
Yes.
You got a little experience with this.
Yes, I've been involved in a number of different networking groups and visited many groups, and I think the first thing that I hear people talk about is the networker a go-giver or not.
Yes.
Right? That's really the key to networking. People who say they don't like networking, if they just if we change our perspective and we go into it looking how we can help other people as opposed to how many sales we can make from a networking meeting.
Bob Berg's book, of course, The Go-Giver, a great quick read for anybody who hasn't had any, they haven't quite found their foothold.
Yes.
That's one of my first books I share with people
it's awesome.
who just need a little help because it's an easy read. I think it took me, and I'm a slow reader, 2 hours.
It's a great philosophy.
Yes.
And the groups that I stick with are the ones that have that philosophy and use that as a profile for their participants.
There's no accident we're at Medici.
That's right.
See?
We're go-givers.
We are go-givers. So that's one thing. Is there any other pet peeves of things we see? You've been to a lot of networking things. I've been doing a lot of networking things. Any pet peeves out there that, man, you wish people just made a subtle shift?
Well, what I think about with networking is I think there are 2 types of networking groups. So one type is where you just go and meet as many people as you can, right?
Right.
Those are great. But the other type is where you go and learn something.
Yeah.
So I like to have a mix of those in my life. And at E4E, for example, we really focus on learning. And we structure the learning around how to grow your business, run your business, and live a balanced life as well. So it's a holistic approach, but I wouldn't recommend people go to E4E just to collect as many business cards as possible. It's not that type of event.
Right.
Mark Breimer is a great person for staging those events. He just staged one this week.
Yes.
And had 150 people at the Business Lodge in Chesterfield. So I like to distinguish. I advise my clients and people who are looking for networking advice, think of it
Start at some great
2
places.
ways. One place is where you're going to learn to build your business. Another place is where you're going to make connections.
Right. Oh, I like that. Yeah. I shared this with George and George Slaughter and also Dan Lewigs for his podcast, but I don't know if I shared it with you. So when we're thinking about business and business in general, right? You focus on what? Profits, right? Mm-hmm. And do you want gross profits or net profits? What are going to be more important to you? Net profits, right? And then so if you break down the word networking, I shared this with George to put in his book. You think of networking as just that. How can you maximize your efforts so that you're really producing the result that you really want? So that's the networking of networking instead of gross working. And I think a lot of people misplace what networking and the really gross working. There's a lot of gross working out there. And I think you spoke to it. It's like, well, yeah, you can meet, you want to grow your database, and then there's some people who, we've experienced that, ooh, that's a little gross. But
yeah,
that's I think exactly what you're saying. I just said it in a little different way.
I like it because so often we think there's just networking. We don't understand that there can be an attitude, there can be a perspective, an intention that really sets the stage for networking. So,
yeah, if you get your mind right, everything else is a lot easier to follow.
So I have a one more I wanted to
mention.
I
asked you two. It's two down, one to go. What's your numero tray?
So the last one is there are different styles of networking groups, and I think you'll learn more about this at the CCC.
Yes.
Because that's what it's all about, is understanding your own profile first, and then how to choose the right fit networking groups. So I want to compare Medici Media Space to Rise Collaborative.
Oh, yeah.
Are you familiar?
Yeah, so Rise Collaborative, for those who are around the world and have never been to Medici or Rise or been to St. Louis, because people pick this up around the planet. And so Rise is a collaborative geared toward entrepreneurial thinking women.
Yes.
Women-owned businesses, co-working space for women. Yes. Medici Media Space is also a co-working space, and they have a philosophy with some awesome core values, and we talked about Go-Giver is a very thing ingrained in there. Another thing is just, simple things that are common sense you'd like to think, but aren't always practiced by everybody.
Yes.
Simple things like cleanliness, pick up after yourself, be a go-giver, share, it's like the one thing we see, and there's a little bit of at Medici, right? We'll see people come in with, I can't share my prized idea.
Soon
somebody will steal it. And it's like, no, the idea is great. Yes. And the thing to execute the idea is so much more, and that's like the whole iceberg theory. You see the tip of the iceberg, that's the idea, but the thing to fulfill it is that other 95% of the iceberg that you don't see that will cause destruction, like to the Titanic.
The execution of it.
Exactly.
Is huge.
It's a bigger mountain than we think.
Yes, it is, totally. So what's interesting about looking at different networking groups, so the reason I talk about Rise Collaborative and Medici Media Space is I have a colleague who really wants structure. And Rise Collaborative is beautifully organized. Yeah. It's aesthetically beautiful. I mean, there are great people there. I just love what Stacy Tubman has created. She and her business partner.
Way to go, Stacy.
Just fabulous. And so my colleague really likes that, feels more at home there. It's for women only. That's her target market. Whereas some place like Medici Media Space, for those of us who maybe are a little more creative and like the Renaissance atmosphere of it, and some of the non-structure side of it.
Right.
The concept at Medici is create your own Medici. So come in and make it your own. You design what you need at Medici. Whereas Rise Collaborative is a little more, we've organized all these beautiful events and environment and all of this, and we're facilitating the collaboration that way.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to really see these two different spaces, and my colleague loves Rise and doesn't really feel comfortable at Medici. And yet I appreciate both, but because I'm spending so much time at Medici, I don't have time at the moment to participate in Rise, but I love keeping up with what they're doing and all the excitement, and I love seeing them grow. So I just think that's another thing to look for in terms of, do you really need the structure? You appreciate that structure, you work better with some structure, or do you want more of an entrepreneurial approach where you can make it your own.
Yeah, it's a great way. I was going to say, for one thing you mentioned was the Renaissance effect, where you're bringing a not just creative people together, but you're bringing also, I mean, there's accountants there's attorneys there, there's, there's seasoned businesses that in their own right are very successful. And I think why they choose to be there is our strategy sessions, because now you're getting a different viewpoint from all these different minds, creative, very well structured, some other, very successful, again, in their own genre of business.
Yes. It's the mix. It's that variety and the mix.
And that was one of the biggest attractors for me.
Okay.
Because I am a little bit more on the gregarious side, and
really,
and
you
one of the
strike me as such a shy.
I am
person.
a very shy, private person. I don't have anything on social media. And what I learned from Art Snarzik, who's one of the presenters.
Art is the best.
He is awesome, and I share this as much as possible with people. Is a concept we embrace at Medici, which is do what you do best.
Yes.
And delegate or inspire the rest.
Yes.
To get that thing fulfilled. And Art's thing is focusing on your personality type, where it's like, how do I, as an extroverted, high I, or high quick start type of personality, depending on which format you're using,
right?
How do I be my best with my stuff, and not worry about all the other things and still be successful? And that's what he's going to talk about and share is exactly just that. You can work in any networking environment with your personality type and have it be successful for you.
Awesome.
And, I know from a moderation standpoint, is there something that you'll be listening for or looking for, as somebody to really help other people network in a positive way? Is there something that you could give a little share right now? Even if they can't attend, because some people can't attend this one.
Well, Art and I have talked about this, and there are folks that will find in their profile that they are more lifelong learners. They crave that learning component, and if so, E4E is Experts for Entrepreneurs is a great home for those people.
Yeah.
Because it is about learning. If people who are looking for community, genuine community where they can really get to know each other, E4E is very strong.
That's awesome.
So,
and I think you found that in a lot of places. I found that at Medici. You found it at E4E.
Too, yeah.
So you're just attracted to those type of networking environments that you can plug into and fit. And other people would be, something different.
Yes, so...
It could be a BNI with Virginia. It could be...
Exactly.
It could be... I know there's a LaTip, all kinds of different things.
Is a good example of a networking group that has more structure to it, right?
It does, yeah.
And
a weekly meeting,
some people love
regular.
that. I've been to many great BNI meetings.
Yes.
They're awesome, and so, yeah, it's really interesting. I think George has such a wonderful concept in this whole event. Who would have thought that we would need to find the best fit of networking? Isn't it, in the past days, it's been about, I went to 17 networking groups this week, right?
Well, the way I was taught, it was, or one of the sales things I was taught way back when was, think of your business card like a lottery ticket. And the more you play that lottery ticket, the more opportunities or chances you have to win. And that's how it's a numbers game. But I think they were focusing on the wrong type of schematics with that.
Yeah,
it's certainly not the one that I want to be a part of. And unfortunately, it works. Otherwise, people wouldn't do it. And it's like, there's other ways to do that. That's not what networking is really about.
Yes, when you really analyze.
That's gross working.
Yes, that was my line. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I should have.
I set you up and I didn't let you take it. We're learning here.
Okay,
it's all good.
Okay, this is my first podcast, so
ever.
I thank Sean for being my first. This has been great, Sean. Thank you.
Oh my. Well, thank you, Cynthia, and we'll see you hopefully at CCC.
Yes, definitely.
And for everybody else out there in the social media world, thank you for listening. And we'll see you on social media.
Thank
And that. Thumbs up, all the happy stuff, a little bit. And it's going to be a great event.